Hello, SCPA members and leaders. My name is Aubrey Nowicki, and I'm the proud founder and board director for the Student Event Planners Association. Thank you guys so much for joining this webinar today as part of our professional development series for our program. And today we're going to be talking about hotels and convention centers. So the great thing about this webinar series is if you are just getting into the industry, or maybe you're in the industry and maybe trying to explore a different niche in the industry, you're going to get a lot of information from today's speaker, and I'm going to be introducing her in just 5 minutes. For housekeeping, if you guys want to go ahead, if you're an SCPA member, if you want to post on the wall your name and what chapter you're part of so you can introduce yourself, that would be great. This is the same wall that you'll be posting any questions that you have throughout the webinar, and we'll be addressing all those questions at the end of the webinar for a Q&A session at the very end. All right, so we'll just get started in 5 minutes. All right, and I see a couple names that I recognize, quite a few that I don't, so welcome. Welcome to everybody. Barbara, I see that you're on the call. If you wouldn't mind testing out the page of the website, go ahead and introduce yourself so I know that it's working for everybody. All right, if you're just joining the call, we're going to get started just 5 after. Allow other people to get logged in. If you didn't hear me for the first time around, the wall that you guys joined the webinar from, feel free to introduce yourself on that wall, your name, and if you're an SCPA member, you can include the chapter that you're part of, or if you just want to include what city and state you may be in, or if you're in another country, feel free to include that as well. We'd love to get you guys conversing and introducing yourself. Sherry, I see that you just joined. Once again, as we go along, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post it to that particular wall, and I'll be reading all those questions for our guest speaker towards the end of the webinar. All right, people are logging in. Welcome to the call. Welcome to the call. Glad to have you. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Run and grab a water if you want to. Welcome to everyone who's just joining. We're going to get started in just 1 minute. Once again, if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourself on the wall, you may. Just simply post your name and what chapter you're from if you're part of the SCPA. If you're not, definitely welcome. We're excited to have you guys here. I'm going to be introducing our speaker in just 1 minute. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining today's webinar for the Student Event Planners Association. This is part of our professional development program. Every single month we host a webinar, and this particular series is how to find your niche. Now, if you're new to the event planning industry, it's probably a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're trying to identify what niche you want to go into, because there's so many facets to the event planning industry. It's not enough to say that you want to be an event planner. That's not descriptive enough. So the whole mission and purpose of this particular series is to help you guys to start making some decisions on what career path you would like to take in the industry. And we have an unbelievable speaker booked for you guys today to explore the niche of hotels and convention centers. Her name is Catherine Budd, and she's the Senior Event Manager for JW Marriott Orlando Grand Lakes. And I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with that hotel chain, very prestigious. I'm going to share just a little bit of information about Catherine, and then she's going to take it away. So to know about Catherine, she's passionate. Passionate is one word that you can sum up Catherine. She's someone that truly knows the value of life, and this passion follows through both professionally and personally. She's extremely detailed, efficient, and creative, and works tirelessly to impact her clients and community, and I can attest to that. Phenomenal individual. She is a proven professional with 30 years of experience in food and beverage and special events industry, including restaurants, theme parks, catering and special events, and hotels. Events ranging from 2 to 18,000. She has worked at the JW Marriott Orlando Grand Lakes for 11 years, and preceding that, Walt Disney World for 15 years, and understands the word teamwork. Catherine holds all 4 of the following designations: CPCE, CMP, CSEP, and Certified Sommelier. For each of these certifications, Catherine independently researched and enrolled and self-prepared for each program, focusing on each unique event element. She's a long-standing member of NACE and ISIS, serving on the board of NACE for 10 years, 3 of them Orlando chapter president, and holding various roles on the ISIS board as well. She's a recipient of many awards through her workplace and industry events, several of these for community service and action. And we are just honored, humbled, words cannot express to have you as a guest speaker today, Catherine. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your knowledge, your wisdom with all of our members and everyone else who's tuning in today to learn about this particular niche. We're honored to have you. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course.
So I wanted to start, I don't know if you have the slide, or maybe I can't see it, I'm not sure, kind of how we're going to, there's a couple of bullet points that they had asked me to cover. Some of it, and I know you're trying to find out what your goal or going through these webinar series is to find out exactly where you want to be an event manager and what kind of event manager. So one of the questions was, how did I get started in the industry? And I'll tell you that when I got out of high school, I'm going to make you do some math here. Back in 1981, you can figure out how old I am, I wasn't really sure. I didn't have anything in mind for sure what I wanted to do with my life. Back then, way back then, event management was not what it is now. I mean, it's, it wasn't the new block or anything like that. And for women, it was kind of, business administration. I had bankers in the family. My father was a bank president, and I thought, okay, I guess I should just go into business. So that's kind of the route I took. At first, was just doing business administration and wasn't really sure, like I said, what I wanted to do. And then I dabbled in computers for a while and flowcharts and software and that kind of thing. That's scary now because I feel completely lost with that. But then I was working up in North Carolina. My parents had a summer home up there, and I started working in restaurants. And I thought it was pretty fun. And I kind of thought, well, this food thing is kind of interesting, and I kind of liked doing it and learned up there in Western North Carolina that the #1 2-year program for hospitality management was up there in Asheville, which is a little town up in the mountains. And I thought, oh, maybe that's what I'll do. And I had to leave college for a personal reason for a short time and then went back. So I've done my 2 years for business administration and then routed over. I thought, I think I want to do this hospitality thing. I didn't really have a full grasp of what it entailed, but I knew I enjoyed doing that type of work and thought that I would do well in that. So switched over to, I guess as I mentioned, hospitality management, and then graduated from there. So that's kind of where I started. So I started my first food job, if you will, at age 16. I really had my first management or supervisor role actually while I was in school up there. So I was probably 19 or 20 when I was first in charge of a restaurant and hourly individuals. So let's see, other things, let me see how to get started in the industry. So from there, I kind of I worked at a Hilton that was up there, and North Carolina, although beautiful, was Asheville was not really what it is today, which is a really cool, eclectic town. It was neat there, but not necessarily you got to pay the bills that much, if you know what I mean. I mean, you're going to work, but you want to get paid for what you're doing. So I would look at the trade magazines, and I'll tell you what, Orlando was the town to be. So my brother was already living in Winter Park, just a short while, a little bit up the road here, about a half hour. And there was lots of big hotels being built. At the time, there was the Orlando World Center, was the largest hotel being built in the southeast United States. I thought, I got to see this. So we came down, kind of did a little tour. We thought, yeah, O-Town, that's for us. So we moved down here, and I didn't quite start with Walt Disney World yet. Got a job in managing the restaurant at a place up in Winter Park, Florida, and it's not there any longer, but it was a conglomeration of 3 restaurants that was run by 2 gentlemen that were the owners. And I was the evening dining room manager there, and then, I'm sorry, the daytime, and then at night I would wait tables. And this is a cool thing if you ever have the opportunity to do, but they had table service. So this is back in the days, if this term means anything, Garradon service, where you do flaming coffees and Chateaubriand and cooking tableside and Caesars. So that was a really fun and cool thing to do, and then I would manage the restaurant in the day. And then the nighttime manager left, so I kind of was running the dining room after that, and then I thought, okay, what's next? So that's when I went to Walt Disney World. So got myself interviewed there, kind of through a backdoor channel a little bit. So I was at Walt Disney World from 1988 to 2003. I did go in as restaurant manager, and they didn't have catering and events was not, it still really wasn't the big thing then, as it was now. So I did a couple stints in, I worked at Disney MGM Studios, I worked at Epcot Center, and then I was promoted to like called regional, but area manager at the Magic Kingdom. And at that point, they decided, they had done a couple of events in the Magic Kingdom, and they're thinking, they're like, let's make a department, and let's really resource this and see if it's really going to come to fruition, if there's money in it. So we were the first department to do that, develop a convention and catering department, if you will, for Magic Kingdom. So that's what I did for probably about 8 years. I was there at Disney for 15 years, 7 of them in restaurants, 8 of them in catering conventions. And I'll tell you, that was probably, although don't get me wrong, I love where I am now, but that probably will be the love of my life job. To have dinners in the Haunted Mansion, with scenes, characters. I mean, these are like life events that people will never forget. When you walk in under Cinderella Castle, we would have, real long, and I'm talking long tables, like set for 80, so 40 on each side, just with beautiful tapestry linen and tall candelabras, and you're eating under Cinderella Castle in twinkle lights and everything. It's just, I mean, it makes my hair stand up on my neck to this day. It's just phenomenal events. And needless to say, that's where I did the event for 18,000. That was McDonald's. It was a big event. But just wonderful, wonderful events. We had a great staff, very small staff, very permanent small staff, and then our event management team, or there we call them convention team at the time. But they had asked about, things that were noteworthy events. I mean, we had several televised events. Back when Regis and Kathy Lee had their show, we did a wedding that was televised. We've done landmark Walt Disney World anniversaries, every time they celebrate like 10 years or 15 years, that kind of thing. All those things were televised, and it fell under special events to do. The flyovers with the blue, what they call the Blue Angels, and things going on in the park. I mean, I think I worked a 30-hour shift without leaving home or leaving work one time for that. But all the press, the big anniversaries were really something for us. And I also, you'll laugh at this, Martin Scorsese's daughter was going to get married, and I had the privilege of meeting her. We started working on her menu and all the details, and they called it off. I was really bummed about that, but that would have been cool. But other things, at Disney when I was there, we won a Grand Tabletop Award. We were in Wine Spectator magazine, Wine Enthusiast, Restaurant Forum, Market Watch, Inside Wine, and Restaurant Hospitality magazines with pictures for different events that we were doing and articles. So again, that really, I think, was a wonderful, wonderful time for me. My boss at the time was also president of Florida Restaurant Association, so he really believed in traveling and benchmarking, and gosh, we did everything then. So I didn't, I do have a daughter now, but I didn't have any children then. So I mean, we traveled constantly. We would go to, the ISIS convention and NACE convention. I mean, every year we go twice a year actually, because there were two and different things. And any big fundraiser that was in town, we would go kind of benchmark and see what other properties are doing, other hotels. So we really almost had unlimited budget. Those were the good old days, I'll tell you what. But to go and do and travel and to see and experience and touch it and feel it and smell it, which I think really set the standard for how I was going to do things and how I think about things and what's possible. So different types of catering, I know, is something that we wanted to be addressed. Of course, there's, and I know you have other speakers coming on at later dates, but for my industry or for being in hotels, we can have corporate planners, and those are the kind we really enjoy because they have a little bit bigger budget. You have associations, which are a little more budget conscious, or maybe have a finite set budget. We laugh and call it summer business here in Orlando because it's hot. It is hurricane season here, so it took a long time to build up business through the summer, but companies got smart about that, and they would actually book their business in the summer because they could get a really reduced rate because you had all these rooms to sell, and they could, it was cost effective for them. So then, of course, we have some social and local markets. Not a lot here. I mean, the property that I'm here, the JW Marriott, and we have a Ritz-Carlton right here as well. I do work at the Ritz-Carlton as well. We're not really a big social market. We do have some weddings. Back when the economy fell in 2008, we basically lost our holiday parties. I think everybody did. And we really haven't seen that come back too much. I mean, there's a few we have, but nothing like we used to. But we are really a group hotel. The whole property is, both the JW and the Ritz-Carlton both, and that's what it was built for. So it's 1,500 rooms. You've got two hotels sitting on one property with a shared spa, the Ritz-Carlton Spa, and a Greg Norman golf course here, 18 holes. So it's a lovely, lovely property. They originally bought 500 acres, and then we're kind of down to one corner at this point. But it's a lot of hours, but it's a lovely home away from home, if I will. So different types of hotel convention event planning jobs. I mean, I think they were asking. There's catering, front desk management, special events, and group sales. Can you get into event management through one of those portals of the front desk? Yes, you can actually. We have 3 assistants right now. 2 of them actually came to us fairly recently from the front desk. Some of our either assistants or event coordinators came from, I think we've had some from recreation. We have had some come from UCF, University of Central Florida. We have another young lady that's going to join us in about 2 weeks, and we're really excited. I met her actually through NACE. And my boss here, my director of event management, was doing a speaking engagement at NACE, and she somehow found my name through NACE, almost like Aubrey did with ISIS, and contacted me and said, hey, can I come job shadow? We didn't realize that Colin and I worked together, which is kind of a small world. And now this young lady's going to start working here in about 2 weeks. And I'm super excited because she's super engaged and a lovely, lovely young lady. She has been in the hotel already. She worked through PSAD, which is obviously an AV company. Was able to get hired through them. So it's really like she's been an extension of us already. So she kind of already is ready to rock and roll with everything and already knows everybody in the hotel. But now she'll be with event management. So I'm tickled pink about that. But we have several event coordinators or assistants that came through the UCF event management program. May not been directly, but wound up here, and they have since been promoted and gone on to be event managers. This particular property is big. I call it a big pig. So we do, we're 1,000 rooms. We do big groups, and I would kind of define us as the second timer. So it would be, not that it hasn't happened, but it would be rare that we would bring somebody in from a university that just graduated without experience. They're going to want to bring someone in that's ready to hit the ground running. So, most event managers that come in would have already been an event manager, and they come in. And then we have had event managers get promoted to senior event managers. We've had senior event managers come event managers were actually directors of event planning at other properties and came over as senior event managers. So there's really a big mix of senior event managers here at the JW, kind of our background. Skills and job responsibilities. So I'm going to kind of hit this under kind of one banner, if I may. I kind of pulled some thoughts together under what I would call maybe management competencies, and I'll kind of speak about them for a few minutes. So starting with adaptability, the ability to effectively adjust to major changes in work task or the work environment. As a representative from the hotel, I've had everything from meeting planners call me and verbally give me their stuff. So I'm sitting here writing madly, like this is the, old school, maybe as I call it. You're handwriting down as fast as you possibly can, or trying to, scribe. They're giving you all their details and their room sets or their catering or, audiovisual, that kind of thing. Or you may have somebody with a knockout spreadsheet that's really easy to read. I've had people send me 5 spreadsheets to try to read, and it's just the biggest mess since I can't imagine what, So it's the ability to adapt to your client and however it is whatever they need from you, however they give you the information, you need to be able to disseminate it and make it work for them. I would say a big, huge thing for us here at this property, building trust. So with that, I would say establishing relationships. You've got to connect to your client somehow. You have to find that niche. Again, you're looking for a niche. You got to find your niche with your client and establish a little bit of trust. And that's just relaying a little personal thing about you, or maybe you can find a common interest. I mean, you want to ask questions about, where'd you grow up, or how'd you get what you're doing? And the more you can make yourself personal to that person, you're kind of touching their soul a little more, and they're going to feel a little more comfortable with you. The good thing about being at this property for 11 years, a lot of my clients are repeat clients. They've been here multiple times, if not twice. They could have, this might be their 8th round coming through the hotel. So for me, they're almost like having a friend return at this point. But really, establishing relationships and trust is not only does that not go to your client, it goes to your team. It goes to your operations staff, but I mean, all the way around. I mean, establishing relationships and trust. I was going to, it's 9/10 of the law. Communication, skilled at clearly conveying information, ideas through a variety of media, engaging the audience and helping them understand and retain the message. So, we'll put out a resume, a hotel resume, when a group's coming in. So we need to make sure we touch each department. So that's front desk, that loss prevention, the bell stand, parking. All those little areas in the department, in the hotel, for us, we need to make sure that we're covering things that they need to know about this group coming in. It's got to be clear, it's got to be concise, because it might not be one big group that has all 1,000 rooms. We could have 10 groups, and they're smaller groups, and that's just think about the load of paperwork and trying to keep all of that straight if you're in operations, because they're all your clients. I mean, I just have one group in at one time usually. But operationally, they could have trying to juggle 10 different groups with 10 meeting planners and all their separate needs. Customer focus, ability to develop and sustain productive customer relationships, actively seeking information to address their needs. So, okay, that kind of goes back into the building trust and establishing relationships. High work standards, setting high standards of performance for self and others, assuming responsibility and accountability for successfully completing assignments or tasks. So it's, I mentioned about hours, and I'll get to stress later on down the road here. But, your work standards need to be above reproach and beyond any others. I mean, people go on vacation, and then there probably may or may not be a generation gap here. It's funny, I was having this conversation with a client recently, and she sees a gap in how people respond to email at what time of day. She goes, if you're, the older group, she goes, respond all times. And then like in the middle, I don't know what age group she was defining that out. If it was like 25 to 30 or 35 or something, not so much. And then she said the younger ones she sees responding immediately, because it's a lot of social media. You're on, Facebook and Instagram and all those things, which I am not. I'm too old for that. My daughter's on there, but I'm not quite sure I get all that. But I do respond. I've been camping at the top of the mountain in Georgia with intermittent, internet service, but I will still respond. Because I get so many emails, it's just nuts to try to catch up. It's easier for me to just take a few minutes and respond. But I tell you, that's another issue of trust, and people know you're on vacation, and when you're responding, if you're able to answer a quick question for them, I mean, they really appreciate that, and it goes a long way. Planning and organizing. Oh yeah, this is a biggie, as I'm sure you all know. Being super skilled at establishing, courses of action for yourself, time management, not only personally, but just, prioritizing, being able to know what you need to put first. And I know that sounds easy, but it's hard when you have, 15 things that require action, or you come in and you got, 75 emails waiting on you. You probably discard immediately like a third of them, but you need to be able to prioritize, what needs to come first, what is, most important, or, is there somebody's a hot button or something. So it's just being able to, separate the men from the boys, if you will, and, plan your day and get back to your clients. Another big hot button, problem solving and decision making. Thinking on your feet and knowing what your resources are and how to use them. So wherever it is you land, you want to establish those relationships. Again, it's not just the client, it's your team. It's everybody in your property or your hotel or wherever you're going to be. If it's an event planning team, use those people, and I mean, use, but, use them as much as you can to help you so you can help them. I mean, you have to reciprocate that. But, use your resources. I'm going to lane change here just a moment. I'm going to go back and say that Aubrey had mentioned about me being a member of Mason ISIS. Those resources are invaluable, I would say. I'm going to continue to lane change here. So earlier in my career with NACE, I met a lot of local vendors, linen, decor, things that you would rent, that kind of thing. I mean, and now, I've known these people for 15, 20 years, and they're very good friends of mine. So if I need something on the fly, I know they'll make it happen. I know all my wine distributors, like they're my best friends. If I need something, they'll personally bring it out to me. I never want to take advantage of that because I want to be a good planner and be a good steward of our relationship and give them more than enough notice. But in those few pinches when your client says, oh, what do you mean? I want a rye whiskey tasting and I want it in 2 days, it's all special order. I've got the connections to be able to do that. So that just takes time to develop those relationships, but it's things that you definitely need to massage to make sure that you are successful, which means your client will be successful. Give me back to my list here. So problem-solving decision-making. So again, it's just knowing, understanding the issue, being able to identify it and act on it quickly, and using your resources. Stress tolerance, this is another thing. I know, and it's funny, some of these things I'm actually putting down kind of on a profile because there are things that if you get that phone interview with Marriott, you're going to be asked some of these things. How do you deal with stress? So, you need to be able to perform when you're under the gun. I mean, I don't know if you saw there was gosh, I wish I thought about this. The top, I don't remember what website I saw this on, but like the top 5 stressful jobs in the world, like 3 or 4 of them were military related, obviously. I mean, I couldn't even fathom, being in that environment and, fighting for your life or fighting for the lives of others. But up there on that list was being an event manager. So, it was like in the top 5 stressful events or five stressful jobs to have ever, which, I mean, it's stressful, but I would not put myself in the same category whatsoever as someone, our military heroes. But it's stressful. It keeps you up at night. I know sometimes I won't sleep because of things. So, determining what type of event management you want to get into is maybe what you personally can tolerate. And you may not really know that till you kind of get in there, So that's I myself personally, I kind of thrive on stress. I need a little stress or I get bored. So I need to be always running. They say if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Somebody goes, that's me. But if I'm not pushed, to me, I'm almost bored at that point. I don't know if that makes sense for any of you, but being able to, you have to digress at some point or understand what makes you relax. I mean, some people like to go out, me, I'm kind of an introvert, and I kind of like to go home, and I like to be quiet. I won't even answer my phone at home. So that's how I, reestablish my juices and kind of, get myself back in line. But just stress on the job is a big thing, and how you come across, and just making sure that you're speaking in even calm voice with your client, and if things get hot, that you're not overreacting or kind of, not say yelling, but raising your voices kind of things. Technical, professional knowledge and skills, again, that's really going to be dependent on the company, where you are and what they need from you. I mean, obviously, software is a big thing. We all have different systems that we operate in. Here, there's a couple different systems that we kind of need to get in, and it just takes a while to master. It's really nothing, you're going to learn right away, so you just got to get in there and do it. And another thing I would say is teamwork. I've mentioned that before. They say it takes a village to raise a child. For us, it takes a village to make an event happen. So, when they come into the hotel, you're talking audio-visual. You could be working with operations. You got the guys on the floor, ladies and gentlemen on the floor that are setting up tables and chairs, and maybe the client changes their mind. They need to do a room change. You do an all hands on deck to flip the room. If you're, theater style or schoolroom style for general session for 1,500, you got to turn it to rounds and dinner in 45 minutes. Well, you got to do what you got to do. So teamwork is of utmost importance. It's never the I show. It's always the we show. Always, 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 because there's no way you're going to do this yourself. So I think I've kind of covered the management competencies. Look at my little list again. How do you find event planning positions in the hotel convention job listing? Well, Marriott has, I can't speak for other hotel chains, but there's it's jobs.marriott.com. And from there, you can kind of look, have a couple categories. It says more. You click under there in event management. It'll ask you what area of the world you're looking for, and they just kind of pop up, and you can look in there from there and see what's open in event management. So it's pretty easy, and these days with social media, and I know many companies they post things on Twitter now. I mean, I don't know if they go into Facebook or not, but like we have a link just here for Grand Lakes as well. But I mean, if you want to do a quick Marriott search, it's jobs.marriott.com. And again, look into event management. So I think I've kind of covered the outline that I was given. I'm sorry if I'm kind of looking around here. Did you see any questions that were posed that I can answer?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and flip to that real quick. And awesome, awesome knowledge that you're sharing with us. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post it to that wall. We do have a couple. So as an event planner, are you also involved in the catering aspect of events for help? For instance, do you help clients with the creation of their menus, and how would that work?
Yes. At this property, my role at the moment, I focus more on catering than I do like the eating and room side, although I do both. So that's kind of my thing. I am a catering expert. There are only two of us here. For Marriott, on the bigger properties, they will have separate event managers that do, we're all called event managers. So some that just do meetings that don't know anything about food. So they just do like the room sets and the room blocks, and they work with group housing and that kind of thing. And then there's other people that will focus on the catering. So like I said, there's two of us here that really do that. But yes, definitely with the menus. I would say for dinner, let's just, because breakfast is breakfast, I mean, yes, you could do different things, but there's eggs and bacon and, the normal suspects. But for dinner, I would say we probably do about 65 to 70% menus are customized. So yes, we have set catering menus that, you would send them a link to kind of give them the general thing, but, everybody wants to feel special, like these menus have never been done, and, you get all this kind of drama sometimes, but, maybe you might pull from something else you've done, but, we've done some really wacky events here. We were doing food trucks before food trucks were cool. We do them out in the parking lot. We do really themed, one of the coolest things I did here was for a NACE event, and we called it, I think, the Journey of Life, and we started in, it was a little risque, but it's always good for an ACE group. We started in Purgatory, and everything was kind of white and gray and just kind of eerie, and then we came into Hell. We did our version of Hell's Kitchen in our banquet kitchen. We cleared out the stairs and down, so it seemed like you were kind of going up into heaven because you were in hell. And we had acrylic tables that were rigged in the ceiling, and they came down, and most of our pastry chefs are the ladies that work in the kitchen, well, they're ladies, and we put wings on them. So it looked like that the desserts and the angels, were coming from heaven, and it was kind of a smoky room. It was really awesome. So,
we're going to need pictures of that.
People still talk about it to this day. And then, along the first stage that we did was the Iron Chef, and that was back before Iron Chefs were cool. They were one of the very first properties, and we do Iron Chefs. I'm talking for like 1,000 people. So, we've kind of been there and done that. We haven't really done an Iron Chef in probably 2 years because we've done them for so long. But yes, we are critical for rating menus. And if you're going to ask me if I rate the menus, sometimes I will make menus up. And when we opened, our executive chef was told straight off by Mr. Bill Marriott himself. He goes, "Look, I want your banquet catering menus to be like a eclectic restaurant." And we've been almost #1 in the company since we opened with banquet food. I mean, it really is when you get your dinner. If you ever plated dinner, I mean, it's awesome food. It's not what you deem in your mind as banquet food. It's like eating in a small eclectic restaurant. So that's been our marching orders, and that's our goal since we've been open. And so the chefs are really, really involved in writing the menus. And sometimes it's a theme-based, yes, we really here focus on local, sustainable, and fresh. That's our personal or hotel goals, marching orders for food.
That's awesome. Really, really cool. So what would you say the office dynamic or culture is working in a hotel, specifically yours? And then the other part of that question is, how would you kind of describe a day in your life?
So the hotel dynamics as to how we fit as a team, I'll just do a quick flip chart. I think that's what they're asking for, I'm not sure. We have a director of event management, and he does not do events. We have 2 director of event planning. One of them is catering. That's the other catering guru. And the other one basically is the meetings. He doesn't touch food. We don't want him to. And then under there are, let's think about this. I think about 3, there's about 4 of them, 4 senior event managers that can do either. And there's myself who's the catering. So like there's kind of the 2 catering gurus. And then there's 2 event managers, and they will do, okay, so let me back up. So the senior event managers will do the larger groups. Event manager will do probably about like 150 rooms or less. So, if someone were to come in as an event manager, you could do little smaller groups. We have had event managers here promoted to senior event managers. We have had one of our event coordinators, we've had 2 promoted from here at this property. From event coordinator or assistant to an event manager. So, I mean, we have had that. I'll say it never happens. We're usually a second timer, as I mentioned. So that's kind of the makeup of the office.
And do you guys work off of each other a lot? I mean, are there typically multiple people involved in a single project, or does that just come in when you're talking about the different vendors that you maybe work with, or in hotel staff?
Yeah, if we're talking about a group, if it's probably like 300 or more, it's got 2 people on it. So it's got that meeting person and it's got a catering person on it. And as far as teamwork, we have, Marriott used to have an audiovisual company, which we had here, but we are now our OffSite partners, or PSAD. So again, they are partners, they are teamwork. I mean, they handle our audiovisual. Sometimes we take the order and send it to them. But again, it's really a third party. We do the billing for them. It's posted on the master bill. But they're just as much our partner as somebody that works for Marriott.
Right.
Also on site is a destination management company called Hello Florida. There are 2 ladies that sit on this property. That's all they do is Grand Lakes. So they are extended arm. One of them's been here for many, many years. I mean, she's just like family with us. If we have a birthday and a cake, she's right down there celebrating a birthday. Just it doesn't matter that she's not necessarily working for Marriott, but she's part of our family, and she makes it happen.
Very cool. And the second part of the question, sorry, I grouped 2 in one. How would you describe a day in your life? So if people have this impression of what it's like to be, an event manager, what is it really like?
It's long and it's exciting. So I will tell you my average. You're like, how many hours do you work in a day? Well, that's kind of a loaded question.
Right.
I will tell you the longest period of time, and it was maybe 3 years ago. I worked for 6 weeks without a day off. Most of those probably 12-plus hour days. So, and I'm serious. In January, February, and March, I will frequently work 2 to 3 weeks in a row without a day off. I had 2 weeks in January, just this last January, I was working roughly 16 hours a day. And I'm not 20-something, so I'm not getting any younger. So, but it's, that's how it goes. Would I be doing something else? No, because I love it. I thrive on it. As I mentioned, I thrive on that stress. Does it get a little too much sometimes? Yeah, it does. And I have to kind of sit down, or if I need to bend somebody's ear, that's what we do. We vet with each other if we need to. If you're frustrated, and that could come from different things. I mean, I'm sure you've all experienced a time you have too much. You're tired. Your emotions may get the better of you. And I'm not saying that we're in here boo-hooing, but sometimes you just get to the point of being shaky, and you just need to kind of decompress at some point. So yeah, it happens. But it's event management is not for everybody. You need to look at yourself and see how you handle stressful things. You need to think about, do you have a partner? Do you have a wife or husband? Do you have children? I will say my daughter's 14. I missed, I think, all but one game when she played soccer when she was 3. It's heartbreaking. It is, but you can't leave work, because I got a soccer game. So, it's something, somehow you have to balance yourself in your mind. You have to be able to live with it. You have to deal with your partner or spouse with that. I get a lot of that too. They're like, God, how's your husband? Well, my husband was in industry too, so he gets it, thankfully. If you marry, it's funny, now he is a school teacher, but they say if you marry a school teacher, they don't get it. But because he came up in the industry, and he was a chef, and he was a friend of, he was a restaurant manager too, he totally gets it. And even though I work a lot of hours sometimes, there's a lot of benefits with that too. We get discounts. We are, I probably shouldn't advertise this. Yes, I'll work as many days on salary, so I don't get overtime, but, we're able at times to take comp days, so then I can massage my time where I need to, and if I need to have a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day, it's not like I have to punch out, I'll leave and come back or leave early because, I'm probably working 14 hours the next week. So, it's all about how you balance things, I think, and really how you look at life and somehow how you balance your life.
Thank you so much for being so transparent on that, because I think that's a very, very important point to make about just the industry in general. One of the other questions was, do you ever plan events for clients off-site from your hotel?
I'm trying to think if I've done that here. I do some volunteer work since I've been here. I just retired from that role. My husband and I were leading it's called the YMCA Indian Guide Program. We have daughters, it's Indian Princess Program, but for 5 years we planned their entire schedule. It was kind of like camping with dads and daughters and different other events. So, we did all of that, and I'm a Girl Scout co-leader, so I do a lot of that planning and gift speaking and the meetings and that kind of thing. So, it's sometimes I laugh saying Marriott's my part-time job. We were doing a lot of other things. But while I was at Disney, we did do some off-site things. There's back the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center was doing an opening, so we did do a couple of off-site things. We tried to develop that. There wasn't really a need for that. There are a couple off-premise caterers here locally. There's some very, very good ones, and they've really built their business. So not so much with the hotel. Speaking from a theme park, and I get back to there. I don't. Like I said, we dabbled in it a couple times, and we would do some executives, but that wasn't. They were just executives. It wasn't really something we were advertising too much.
Gotcha. And you kind of hit on this particular question, but just to kind of reemphasize, the question is, does working at the hotel require you to work an 8 to 5 job plus anytime you have events? So how do you kind of distinguish, what events you're staying after hours to help facilitate? Is it every event that's under your name, or do you kind of pick and choose based on certain criteria?
Yes, every event under my name. We have a group, just had a big, it was called a major banking firm that was here a couple weeks ago. and they have breakfast at. Okay, I'll move back. So the good thing with having two people on it, if you have a meetings person and kind of a catering person, usually your general session is obviously going to kick off in the morning. So they're going to want to be here pretty early. So usually my partner, and this is kind of how we roll here, but my partner will kind of just watch breakfast till I get in, and then because I'm usually here till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So we're both working similar hours. I don't want to say we split the day. We just don't both come in at 5 a.m. and work till 11 p.m. We split it just a little bit. So that's a lovely thing about having two managers that's on here. I mean, there's really nothing to manage a breakfast. There's very capable captains and staff and servers that are all here. The chefs are here. So I mean, they've got it under control. And I feel more things could go wrong at night when you've got named entertainment, or you've got a big change if they're using the stage and everything for general session. It's a complete room flip, and you're setting up, and then there's all these vendors coming in, setting things up. I mean, that's where you need to keep your eye on. So, am I here to the very end of the event? No, some people say we're supposed to stay, the doors get open. I will stay just to play the function till dessert gets dropped. If there is named entertainment, yes, I will hang out until I know they're on stage and everything looks pretty good. Named entertainment is starting to come back. It's kind of, just from the price of things. Again, when the economy kind of fell back in 2008, you didn't see as much people spending, money. I remember a group back in, gosh, it was like 2000. We had Aerosmith here. How cool is that? And I mean, we had like group after group after group. And Gloria Stefan and the Sound Machine at the same. This was making us too. I mean, every night had ginormous, but. One time I had the power go out, and it was something in Orlando. It was the city grid or something, So I'm glad I stayed because, of course, it went dark, during their gala or something. So I'm able to get something going. But, I'd rather, for me, there's more that can go wrong, and there's more little quirky things at night, than during the day.
Right. And that kind of leads into the next question. You hit on some of it. The question is, do you also serve as a day of coordinator for any events that might be happening at the hotel? Which, yes. What do these responsibilities consist of? So what are some of the things that you would be doing, during the evening? What's your role and responsibility at that particular event?
Yeah, I mean, it's is there a normal, because I heard you say before, so, am I, 8 to 5, and then I work outside of that. There's not really 8 to 5. If your group is here, you're here. If it's setup day and your client's arriving, that might be a half day. Woohoo! You count as a day work because they don't get here till 3 in the afternoon, so you come in at 2, you make sure their office is there, you get them the keys, you get their shipping to them, see you bye. So that's an easy day. Or the last day, maybe they end at 10 in the morning, so you get them cleaned up and send them off to the spa to get a massage, and out you go. But, if they're here, you're here. That's just how it goes. What do I look for? Again, it's all those little parts. I mean, so, when they hire a DMC, you want to make sure, and again, it goes back to that planning piece. I hope that, when they're here on site, I haven't not thought about parking or the loading dock or a time production sheet of how they're going to load in the room and that kind of thing. Those are all things you need to do way ahead of the game, and make sure that, what time do you need the stage down? What time do you need the dance floor down? What time, maybe it's rental chairs but not tables. So, it's big coordination that you as the hotel representative are making sure your operation team, banquets, bartenders, event setup, or housemen, if you look at it that term, all have the same information. Electric, what kind of electric you need pulled, all that kind of stuff. That should all be done ahead of time. So you're just kind of ensuring that all those little plans that you put in place are going forth. Or somebody says, oops, there you missed something, or somebody missed something, that's fine. You just kind of get it back. Am I standing in the room the whole time? Probably not, because if they've hired a DMC, that's what they're doing, because they hired the singer or the linen or the centerpieces or that kind of thing. But you're just ensuring that they have whatever they need, because again, the whole point is to make you want the group to be successful, you want your client to be successful, and you want them to come back. That's the biggest compliment you can have, is if they're, this is the best event we ever had. We're going to sign again, and we're going to come back.
Right, absolutely. Marilyn had a great question. She said, is there a minimum of events you must plan in a year? Example, sales quotas? Question mark.
No. The general answer, no. I am not sales. I don't
Correct.
sign contracts. We're event management, so we implement the contract. So we need to make sure, if they don't fulfill their room block, they're going to get hit with attrition charges. If they don't fulfill their catering obligation, it's food, really. I mean, you can, increase things. I would hate. I have just charged the blanket line item, but it's ridiculous. There's not, you can add things. There's no reason not to use up food money.
Right.
And again, if you have to make any charges for attrition, you're going to make sure that happens.
Do you know, as far as the sales team, whether or not they have particular quotas or?
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of different sales segments on this property. In every corporation, our sales group, it seems like it changes about every 4 to 6 years. It kind of goes through another transformation, and that's really corporate driven. So there's global sales managers, there's regional sales managers, there's Florida sales managers, there's property managers, and it all gets continually mixed up. And I try to think about it, but it kind of makes my brain hurt. So I'm not really sure of the purposes behind it. I know our clients aren't always delighted with that because they kind of like to get in a I don't want to say in a niche, but they like to get in a certain way and know who their sales manager is. But by continuing kind of stirring this pot and how things are divided up, they may or may not have that person that they've built that relationship, they've built the trusting, and they've connected with them. That might not be their sales manager anymore, and they know that person looks out for their best interest. So how those things get decided is above my labor grades, but I'm not really sure.
Understood. And great question, Marilyn. Thank you for contributing that. A question about resume. So if you were hiring, as an example, and you were looking over maybe a recent graduate's resume from college, what are the things that you would be looking for as far as, or just in general, recommendations that you could give to college students who are looking to get into hotels? What kind of steps or action items would you recommend that they take to make sure that resume shines?
I would go back to, depending on where you're applying, I would go into their website and see what are the key, buzz terms, their competencies, see if you can delve down a little bit and find out, what do they want to hear from you. If you know without doubt you want to work for Hilton, and that's your thing, I'd be like hooking up with somebody, be a best friend with somebody with Hilton, and finding out, do they do, like for Marriott, I'll just have to use Marriott, but, we do a daily rehearsal. JW does a daily rehearsal. The Marriott International does something called stand-up, which is kind of like a lineup, that kind of thing. So even among our brands under Marriott International, we call things differently. For us on this property, because we share with the Ritz-Carlton, when I came here, Ritz-Carlton, the interview process back then, 11 years ago, was built around the Ritz-Carlton interview process. So I went searching for Ritz-Carlton, and I knew everything, their mission statements and all of that. I mean, you need to be able, you need to be a minor expert on the company that you want to, join. If there's a book, if the owners or the CEO or just little things like that, and how they started that company, the corporation, or history, get it and read it, and use, particularly once you get that interview, you want to use those little pings in there so they know that you know about this company, you've done research about this company, you are fully engaged and intrigued with this company. I mean, you want to use their terminology if you're able to find that out. So again, if you can, use your NAEPS and your ISIS, get involved with those chapters if you have the ability to. Chances are high if it's a hotel, there's going to be a member there, and partner up, say, hey, would you mind if I'm a college student coming out, or going to be graduating in a year or two, would you mind if I shot you a couple questions, or how's Hilton, just strike up a conversation. But remember that person is busy too, and I think I watched a little bit of one of your webinars. You need to make it worth their while, so you got to fill their bucket list. Remember, they're the working professional, and you're coming out of school. They've done their time. They've done, the hard knocks. They've built their time. So, they may not be so free with their information and sharing, but, you've got to kind of scratch their back before they may scratch your back. So, when you approach someone to need or ask something, you can probably figure out just if they're going to be willing to help you right away, or they might be a little more hesitant.
Absolutely.
But, I'm sorry, you mentioned resume, but I would just say, anything you can put, things you've done, if you're in college and there's an event area probably depends on the size of the campus. Get involved. Plan those events. Put that stuff on your resume. I mean, is it a professional thing you've done? No. But by gosh, if you've got your organization down and you did 10 events raising funds for, the defined charity for that university, that's a big thing. I'll use our UCF here. They do, they call Nights-On, and I mean, they'll raise like, $40,000 or over $100,000. I'm telling you what, I'm sure the students that are on that event planning council or committee, are putting that stuff on their resume, and that will definitely, help a professional looking at the resume. And then when you score that interview, you want to just, don't do one answer, yes or no. Give examples. Always give examples. If somebody asks you about something, say, yes, I've done that. Let me tell you about a time or two or three, that have done that. Use as many examples as you can.
What would you say about your particular staff at your hotel? Would you say a majority of those people have some sort of degree related to event planning, or is it possible for people who don't have a degree in event planning to still get in?
By that, do you mean the event managers in this office? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Kind of thinking, like I'm kind of going down the hallway. I honestly, I don't know everybody's what they studied. I know one started with medical, and I don't know what he wound up with. I really don't know what their major was. But I will say, like I said, I know today, again, today's environment's a little different. I myself did not graduate with a 4-year degree. I did go 2 years, but at least I never got my my business degree. But then I switched so many times. I do have an associate degree in hospitality management, but I don't have a 4-year degree. So I will say it is possible.
Right.
You may have to do a little more legwork on that. And I think in today's culture and climate, I think that's probably different. I think they probably wouldn't look at you unless you have a 4-year degree, but I wouldn't say it's not impossible. And I think that might be one reason I'm kind of second-guessing myself, maybe why I do these certifications. So, I mean, it was, when I kind of joined Nathan ISIS for the first thing, and they're like, oh, well, these certifications. And, I mean, some people had them. At one point, Disney, I think they wanted it mandatory that all their the convention and services in the hotel, they wanted them to be CMPs. And so I think that's kind of how I started rolling with that.
Got it. And I just want to kind of build on some of the things that you mentioned, kind of relate it to some of our student members, if you are a member of SCPA. So she mentioned about building a network, and she mentioned, leveraging professional organizations like ICE and NACE. Definitely Google them if you're not familiar with them. I also want to challenge you guys to think about, if you are a part of an SCPA chapter, you are surrounding fellow members, making sure that you guys are establishing connections and relationships even with those people before you even recognize that it's relevant, right? Because right now you're not in the industry, but when you graduate and you guys join the industry, it is really all about who you know. She mentioned so many times about having people in the industry that she knows that she can pick up the phone and call if she has a last-minute crunch that she needs, particular vendors, knowing this, having that kind of black book Rolodex of people to call that you've established trust and relationship with, that goes so far. And so being that you guys have a link, a bond that you share with all of your fellow SCPA members, make sure that you guys are taking advantage of that. You all have access to a membership directory in our member portal, so make sure that you guys are linking up with each other on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, etc., and starting to establish that professional network. Definitely also get out there and attend some of those professional events so that you can talk to other event professionals. She mentioned being respectful of their time. Everybody is super busy, and you do, all relationships are a two-way road, okay? So you need to know what you have to offer, what you have to leverage in that relationship. And really, the biggest assets you have for most event professionals is your time and your skill set, right? So take advantage of our opportunities program. You've got volunteer, internship, and job opportunities that are posted by businesses in your area nationwide. Get out there and volunteer for as many events as you can. Don't worry about the lack of compensation, because you're compensated in the experience that you get. And really the two biggest things to get your foot in this industry, especially if you don't have a background or solid education in event planning, is your network that you have and the experience that you have, and also of course, the way that you carry yourself, so professional development. So watching these webinars, making sure that you're continuing to add value value to, as Catherine has, with getting other certifications and learning and getting involved with other organizations. All of that is extremely important. Now, also, we have the e-mentor program. So if you're not able to get a coffee date with an event professional that you've met at a networking event, maybe it's not in the cards, take advantage of our e-mentor program, guys. We have hundreds of mentors worldwide who have opted into this program to mentor SCPA students specifically. So each semester you guys have the opportunity to apply for a mentor, and we pair you based on similar interests. It's not necessarily an in-person relationship, it's a pen pal relationship communicated or facilitated through email communication. So it's something that doesn't take up a lot of time for these event professionals, and that's why they're so willing to do it, but you still gain a lot of value from that, and you continue to expand your network, and it opens up doors that you otherwise would not have. So make sure that you guys are leveraging what you also have within this organization. Catherine, all of the information that you shared was just extremely invaluable. I think they got a great understanding of the different types of clients that you have, from corporate to associations to your social market, the different ways to enter the hotel industry, from the catering department to front desk to event sales, or even through rental companies or vendors that the company uses, hotel uses, like PSAV, etc. You hit on so many points as far as adaptability to your client, trust, communication, the customer focus, so on and so forth, of all the kind of characteristics that you need to have and things you need to be mindful of to get into this industry and for it to be something that works for you. Stress level was something that you really hit on and is so important. I mean, just phenomenal job. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this webinar. Do you have any kind of last parting words or advice for any of our followers this evening?
Kind of a loaded question. Not necessarily. I mean, like I said, just realize that, just from seeing that here, that when you graduate, you're probably not going to walk into an event management role. I mean,
right.
You've got to do a little proving, or go to a smaller property. Like I said, this is a very big property. People or companies that might, or hotels or whatever, that might hire someone right out of school might be like an airport property, a smaller property that has, one meeting room or not, maybe 400 square feet or something like that.
Right.
We have like 200,000 square feet of meeting space. So I mean, it's a different entity. We're talking size, but your smaller properties are a little more willing, I think, to be excited by if you have experience even in school, if you did events on campus, that kind of thing. I mean, I believe that you may have a good chance of doing that. Coming into a bigger property, you're going to want to take that. It might be a floor position. We have the Red Coat Concierge program at Marriott. I mean, I'll tell you what, you want to learn how to get along with clients and think on your feet quick. I mean, the ladies and gentlemen we've had in those positions. I mean, I look at them and I'm like, wow. I mean, you talking to me like you got to poof this out of your ear and this one out of this ear, and I need to make this happen. You got phones and radios and everything going, but you will learn very, very quickly. Again, I mentioned the event coordinator role, and that's like the assistant for the event manager, and they do a lot of stuff. They talk constantly on the phone. They help with small resumes. They're doing amenity forms and sometimes meeting clients. So it's kind of like I don't say mini me, but I mean it's doing all those things to get experience, and then you're proving yourself to the leaders of the department that okay, yeah, maybe you're ready for that next step. So don't be frustrated if you can't walk out and get that role you think that that you may want to walk into or deserve. A lot of us you got to go through some hard knocks. You do. You got to prove yourself, and it's part of life with everything. Just say don't give up and just keep going forward, and the more you can do, I mean, even volunteering, you don't have to get paid necessarily for it, but there's a lot of volunteering things that can give you more event experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great points. Thank you, Catherine, so much. We sincerely appreciate you taking your time out. You have such an incredible background, so much experience. I know everybody who's on this call tonight and everyone who's going to be watching it later will have gained so much from tonight's call. So thank you so much once again. And thank you to all of our members for watching. And if you're not a member of SCPA, thank you guys also for watching and welcome. Hope you guys have a phenomenal evening. And with that, see you in the next webinar.